Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daily Dose, we need to get to our Daily Dose top 5. Hey, there's no question. Duke head coach Mike Krzyzewski is one of the greatest coaches of all time. And it doesn't matter what level, college, pro, high school, Olympic. Coach K can coach anywhere. He's just that guy. When you think about some of the things he has done, he has won 5 NCAA championships. He was a 3-time Naismith College Coach of the Year. He has gotten to 13 Final Fours, 15 ACC tournament championships, and 13 ACC regular season titles. You know, among men's college basketball coaches, only UCLA's John Wooden won more NCAA championships than Coach K did. And he had 10. But I mean, remember, that was in a entirely different era. You can't stock up players for 4 years now. You can't just sit there and go, well, I know they can't leave and go somewhere else. They're going to be here. I'm going to get them for 4, maybe even 5 years once I get them to sign. That's not the case anymore. That's a completely different era. You had players at that time for good. There wasn't much they could do. Coach K has had to coach in a totally different era of coaching. Remember, Coach K did also win 3 gold medals as head coach of the USA Olympic team. There's no question. Mike Krzyzewski is one of the greatest coaches ever in any sport of all time. Now, all week, we are hearing and are going to continue to hear sports media outlets singing the praises of Mike Krzyzewski. And I totally get it. He is a great, great coach of all time. And yet, there are a number of people who hate Mike Krzyzewski. They hate Coach K. They think he's boring or he's weird or he looks like a rat or whatever. But why exactly is it that people hate Mike Krzyzewski? Well, today, our Daily Dose Top 5 is going to count down the 5 reasons that a number of people do not like Coach K. They will not be singing the praises of Coach K this week because they hate his guts. Let's start off at number 5. And we hit one of the items that I know angered critics of Mike Krzyzewski as much as anything. Because anytime you hear Mike Krzyzewski talk, maybe it's in the interview with his local press, maybe it's a national interview, it's after a game, it's during halftime, whatever. He always talks about doing things the right way. That is how Coach K rolls. I have gone to coaching clinics and heard Mike Krzyzewski speak in person, and he talks about doing things the right way. He talks about doing things with integrity. He talks about having accountability. He talks about being honest in everything you do. And yet, Mike Krzyzewski would sometimes not always appear to be on the up and up himself. No one in modern NCAA history has whined and manipulated the referees as much as Mike Krzyzewski has. Every single game, he is bullying those refs and daring them to make a call against him. He knows who he is. He knows how much pull he has, and he will dare those refs. What are you going to do? Throw me out? I'll talk to you all I want. Mike Krzyzewski talks about being a leader when things get difficult, yet don't forget, he wanted to cancel 2 straight seasons during COVID of college basketball instead of leading kids when things were tough, when things were scary. That's when you have to, as a leader, step up. Mike Krzyzewski was like, no, I think we should just cancel it all. Well, he didn't say it like that. He was like, no, I think we should just cancel it all. Among Mike Krzyzewski critics, there is a little bit of a feeling of kind of do as I say, not as I do from Coach K. There are those that do not like Mike Krzyzewski because they feel a lot of times what he says is a little bit hypocritical about. And for that reason, Mike Krzyzewski saying one thing and sometimes doing another comes in today on our list at number 5. We get to number 4, and we arrive at another reason that has irked a number of Coach K haters. During his long tenure at Duke, Mike Krzyzewski has been given the opportunity to coach in the NBA at least 5 times that we know of. The first came after that 1990 season when he led the Blue Devils to their 3rd straight Final Four appearance. The Boston Celtics actually offered Coach K a coaching position, but he soon declined that offer. The next season, Mike Krzyzewski proceeded to lead Duke to the first of 2 straight national championships. That wasn't it. In 1994, he was pursued again, this time by the Portland Trail Blazers. But again, Coach K decided, I'm staying at Duke. In 2004, Mike Krzyzewski was also interviewed by the Los Angeles Lakers following the departure of head coach Phil Jackson. Do you remember that? He was given a formal offer by Lakers general manager Mitch Kupchak. Reportedly, they said at the time for 5 years, $40 million. Oh, and also part ownership of the Lakers. But again, Coach K turned it down. Just in 2010, the New Jersey Nets were reportedly willing to pay Coach K between $12 and $15 million per season if he would just come coach the Nets. But again, Coach K declined. He stayed at Duke. In 2011, he was offered the vacant coaching position for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But again, I have no interest in these NBA jobs. I'm a Duke guy through and through. I'm a college guy through and through. I don't want to go coach at the NBA level. But of course, anytime these offers took place, don't forget how this all kind of would go down. Because the word would get out, the NBA is trying to get Coach K away from Duke. The Lakers, or the Nets, or the T-Wolves, or whoever is offering him a deal, sometimes pretty hefty deal. But those offers wouldn't stay under wraps. We would all find out about them, which is a little bit odd, because I don't know that the team is advertising that. And when the word would get out, Duke would in turn give Mike Krzyzewski a huge raise, and then he would end up staying. Now, did he ever have any true interest in going to the NBA? I don't know. Probably not, honestly. But Mike Krzyzewski sure knew how to flirt with the NBA, enough to get himself a nice pay raise. And honestly, that rubbed some people the wrong way. Did Coach K love Duke? Of course. I have no questions about that. You could ask him. He would say, I love Duke. Did he also, at times, maybe manipulate Duke a little bit to get himself a raise every now and again? Well, yeah, he kind of did. And that comes in today at number 4. So we arrive at number 3, and we get to another reason for Mike Krzyzewski critics to complain that maybe they don't like him. Like, he's kind of a jerk. I know he gets all the accolades, but I kind of hate Coach K. You know, we talked about the fact that Coach K won in different eras, and he did. Remember that back in 2005, the NBA implemented its most recent rule of minimum age as part of the 2005 collective bargaining agreement. The rule stated that in 2006, U.S. players must be at least 1 year removed from high school and 19 years of age before entering the NBA draft. So what happened? We all know. Kids began going to college for 1 year and then putting their name in for the NBA draft, which of course ushered in the one and done era. And we immediately started to see colleges like Kentucky and head coach John Calipari, or Kansas with head coach Bill Self. At the time, Thad Matta at Ohio State was doing it. Rick Barnes was at Texas at the time. He was going in recruiting one and done guys. And Coach K was like, man, that is not what college sports should be. We shouldn't be getting these kids for 1 year. He was kind of condemning it. He was saying that is not how any of this should work. We are a 4-year university. Let's go get 4-year guys. But then Coach K realized, no, I can get some really, really talented players. And while I might only have them for 1 year, we can still find a way to contend every year. So Mike Krzyzewski went out and he started recruiting one and done guys. Guys like Zion Williamson and Marvin Bagley and Jahlil Okafor and R.J. Barrett and Jabari Parker and Luol Deng and Tyus Jones and Jason Tatum and Brandon Ingram and Justice Winslow and Austin Rivers and Wendell Carter and Kyrie Irving and Cam Reddish and Corey Maggette and Gary Trent and on and on and on and on and on. This is yet another case of Coach K saying one thing, but then doing another. And many sports fans looked at that and went, yeah, I don't like that. And I hate Coach K for it. Turning Duke into a one and done factory? Yeah, that comes in today at number 3. We move on to our number 2 reason, that no matter how much winning he did and how many titles he won, some people just hate Mike Krzyzewski. And we arrive at number 2, where we find a common reason to hate people in sports. Look, we've talked about it here on the Dose before. We don't hate Rick Barnes. We don't hate Mark Few. We don't hate Bob Huggins or Mike Bray or even Shaka Smart all that much. Why? Well, because they don't have 1,200 wins on their resume. They don't have 5 championships. They don't have 1,000 wins at one school. They don't have the most wins in NCAA tournament history. They don't have an undefeated record as the coach of Team USA. See, you don't hate the average. You don't hate the just barely above average or maybe just a little below average. You kind of don't care about them. No, you save hatred for the people who win and win often. Mike Krzyzewski won at a record-setting level. That's going to bring the haters out of the woodwork. When you win, we hate you. If you weren't winning all the time, we'd go, oh yeah, Coach K, I don't know, whatever. He's at Duke or something, I don't know. No one really cares. Because that's how a lot of coaches, who have been coaching for years, I might add, are kind of looked at. We don't hate them. We don't really care that much. Yeah, they get to the tournament. They usually lose. No big deal. Don't really care. Mike Krzyzewski? No, he wins. And he wins a lot. And for that reason, a lot of people hate Mike Krzyzewski. That comes in today at number 2. So we reach the number 1 reason that no matter how great he was, there are a number of sports fans who will always hate longtime basketball head coach Mike Krzyzewski. And our number 1 reason is quite simply the most obvious reason. Mike Krzyzewski coached at Duke University. And when you think about Duke, I mean, Duke has the reputation of being where the spoiled rich kids go, right? It also has the reputation of being the school that has 1 million fans worldwide that never went there and honestly never have any true tie to the school, except Duke is a winning program, so a lot of people jump on that bandwagon and they go, oh, I'm a huge Duke fan. I've been supporting Duke since way back in the Gary Trent days. Yeah, you go way, way, way back, don't you? But there's also another reason people don't like Duke, because when you think of some of the players that Coach K has had at Duke, and you have guys like Christian Laettner and Cherokee Parks and Steve Wojciechowski and John Shire and Shane Battier and Grayson Allen and J.J. Redick, we hate Duke. People hate their success. People hate their fans. So yeah, if that's the case, then of course people hate Mike Krzyzewski. It's a package deal, people. So many people hate Mike Krzyzewski because he was at Duke. Now look, I don't know if Coach K is truly done. He could easily pull a Tom Brady at literally in a second and say, there's no way my first loss at Duke back in 1980 is going to be to North Carolina. And my last 2 losses at Duke in 2022 are also to North Carolina. So maybe he just says, forget it. I'm coming back. I'm not going out like that. I'm not going to go out losing to the team that we hate the most on the whole planet. I am going to come back and run this thing back and see if we can win. But there are a few problems with Coach K coming back. One, the process is underway John Shire is taking over for Coach K. That's already moving. Plus, Mike Krzyzewski is 75 years old. He's not this young guy. You could see, even in the Final Four, he's starting to look his age a little bit. 2, Mike has recruited, like we talked about, a bunch of one-and-done kids. So it isn't like he can just say, hey, everyone come back. We're going to run this back again next year, because you know those kids are leaving for the most part. Most every kid on his roster right now that was getting significant minutes, no, they're headed to the NBA. It is going to be a rebuilding job every single year when you are coaching one-and-done teams. So I would think Mike Krzyzewski has to be done. And even though he went out on a loss to his arch rival, I know it kind of looks bad to end it that way, but it doesn't take away the fact that Mike Krzyzewski's career has been absolutely insane. What he has done in this era is truly and completely amazing. Congrats to Coach K on his spectacular career. Even though we know from our Daly Dose Top 5 today, not everyone is going to love him. Okay, YouTube, make sure that you go out and you check out the rest of the podcast. This week on The Dose, like we talked about, the NCAA tournament is now complete. We recap how it all went down, and we reveal who won the Daly Dose March Madness Bracket Challenge, so you got to make sure you go over and check that out. Plus, one college hoops team is in serious trouble. We have a little bit of NFL news to talk, and then we're actually beginning to look forward a little bit to the NBA playoffs, which are already going to start next week. So be sure you go over and you listen to the full podcast. I will leave a link here in the comments on YouTube for you. Hope you all are doing well. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week.